Hello, Iran, in species value nature system. I was studying since I was a kid, what everyone does, not without realizing, wondering why now, since we won, or claim to have won the American Revolution, how we don't have correlation in actual means and potentials not realized. Because it won't come through a negative value nature system, which is originally force shared by markets of nations all hurt and forced to entertain this shared police. This is why the Quran has a king, needed too, because everyone was forced to an tactically ulterior from space nature's value nature system. The Quran and the Old Testament are about science's criminal re-engineering. See, quick fact-cheating natures that through generations that convict other, they're not letting that be demonstrated through all ways. If you put proper fact treatment, what convicts other, it needs to hide lies, delusions, premises, and criminal intonation persuasions. And that's not being demonstrated by an offensive area, space nature, fact treatment nature, and online fact treatment nature, breaching and abridgment roles, organized crime method tied to database, crimes, interscience, intercampus, interage of fact treatment nature, together sequentially grouped, and with all areas, sequentially, sequence shifts. When courts are putting sequence shifts and faking people's words, faking people's behavior, and just doing whatever as knaves, as victim predators trained originally and progress. We still have this on charge because there are justifications to it, and there's our roles and fact treatment nature justifications of a recorded breach precedents. And what they're doing is putting sensibilities, not demonstrated, recorded as criminal insidious natures, not just legalized, but pretending because they're legalized, but it's criminally legalized, in relationship to how their nations there and here are juxtaposed as pseudo-identities exploiting their own homelands with with their stewards and ours. Pseudo-identity, only let realized, trained, glorified. Our books abridged. The extortion and this fact treatment nature slavery of our founders not let told, forced compared. That's why they chained them tied differentially together. Before our founders were born, this breaching organized crime was here. A differential fact treatment nature, pseudo education. Only let realize abridged fact treatment, lie, progression, cover up natures and styles. Our own nature now invested as natures of identity by an ulterior from actual value nature system. And so we have the conviction natures of suits and ties with opinion natures recorded criminally foreign influenced and dishonest. So when someone wants to use the correlation to real fast demonstrate what was his exploiting poverty formally and writing other into databases, and what was his exploiting the recorded tactically denatured relationship to nature that suburbs have, even suburbs, to cause negative value nature progressions, and to have them blamed on other and on others, and to having this already manifest facilitated by database relationships, formal, that are the cause to negative value nature progressions with and as the shared internation roles with and as what is exploit right fluent through pseudo identity. This is also with the training for the modern languages in each of the campuses involved with intercampus, interbranch police with database crimes, directing like deans to roles with evidence crimes and rackets, switching names because they ever want to stand the extortion. Because, and then, in other words, group predators too only let realize, victim predators only let realize me. Each brand, because they're not letting it demonstrated. The recorded crime methods with the internet, with opinions, with the areas with opinions, sequence shifting, lie progression, cover up nature's roles, fact cheating nature torture roles, fact cheating nature slander roles, fake relationships to people because they're using witness fabrications. They're saying whatever they have to in the background, stacking multiple lies, multi-front, and with our police force juxed together. We have our our directors of our agencies, the high people with the agencies, recorded and confessed and involved with rackets against the perfect world because they were trained as abridged fact treatment natures, victim predators, and then they were progressed this way, cultivated this way from and as a base propagated for this by the fact treatment nature organized crime. They used color and they used the slavery laws that were on the white people that were forced to blame it on others or not to exist. And so in other words, we have to understand that. Understanding that is understanding what is still recorded manifests the problem. Understanding that is also recorded showing this are not means. What we are for, we have a tactical denatured relationship to nature, which is not debatable. But unless with pseudoscience, hiding lies, delusions, premises, and criminal intonation persuasions, no taxation without legal representation. So when I was watching this too about the sequence nature of the Old Testament, it's real short, and it says all you have to understand is this: bringing the people with the science together to explain it, which is about criminal insidiousness nature, which is about the criminal re-engineering of ancient revelations, which is about the criminal re-engineering of the original nature of internation sciences before modern nations, which means they were involved with a database, organized crime, which means that they're going to make up history that was not real, which is in demonstration of also recorded systemic interscience fact and evidence mistreatments, and juxtaposed with crime methods, with the breaching method, keeping that blamed on others, with the books and stuff, and with the science is tactically obfuscated, so they could keep knowledge insidiously, pretending that correlation can't demonstrate to experts with physical delusions without knowing the incomplete science. And you're not going to know that unless you entertain natures of fact treatments and of sensibilities treatments, of behavior treatments, and of relationships to databases that are demonstrated criminally foreign influence attached to lie progression, cover up natures and needs from that point, and handed means to cover it up with areas. This is why we have a problem with the criminal justice rackets and the people speaking for it. And because that's the only ones that are ever allowed to speak to for it, abridged, breaching nature tools, pseudo-patriotism natures, without that demonstrated, recorded. So we have nations, fake identities. You see what I'm saying? So I was wondering why they weren't just the beginning of the Quran. All you have to, before any of the controversial parts, it says all you have to do is, if you want to be a Muslim, is just say that you believe in it. And then it gives you the right to debate any of the controversial parts. You say, why are there controversial parts there then? Because you have to debate it using the Quran, really appreciating the sequence. And until you can do that, the sensibilities and the behavior and the databases between everybody were attached to a value nature system and rewards and justification natures and tied to, that's where we are, a nature in relationship to a value nature system tactically ulterior than from its natural one. So it's causing negative value nature progressions. And this was set up to exploit only let realized formal nations incapable of not exploiting that, because being trained to it by recorded, criminally influenced sciences. That's our enemy. Internation sciences to areas. So it's differential. So we have the sciences also faking integrity. Lifted suit and tie. Guys. Bad. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't understand why no one was defending radical Islam and radical correlation, which is Jesus Christ is about radical correlation. Because the nature of positive and the nature of negative, positive has only one way that's positive onto itself, inherently, actively, and progressively. And everything that is not that, at the same time, is not the identity of space that is positive onto itself. Here. So it's forced away from here as negative value nature to us, as us, but as stayed positive value nature relationship to itself, as positive value nature's progression somewhere else, in relationship to negative value nature. Identity expanding with the expanding of the identity of positive value nature, which is only a semi-nature together of what is overall the nature of progression through temporary space nature, which is an identity of value before as the value of and beyond. And those three parts are manifest with and as the relationship of the Trinity to itself as a quality of diffusion. Here that English was revealed to teach. The Alpha was revealed to teach about Allah. Because Allah will only stay positive unto itself. But Allah and Romulus and Remus are about polarity nature with cipher. Because this republic was stole. You steal the Campus Martius, and the republic is a correlation nature. A flag is a correlation nature. You know, and so too, with the flag, for example, we have to build. Well, so we're not sophisticated enough to deal with that, because we have to deal with the database organized crime. Because the database organized crime is reliant upon putting opinions first and keeping that where you have to fight with each other, because now you're not using premises treatments. You're not being allowed to demonstrate exceptions when people make, especially when experts, they make the suit and tie, the force glorified, not used as weapons, not to be allowed exceptions, not being allowed to show how their convictions are attached to areas and to interscience, interbranch, internation, intermilitary, fact treatment rackets, justifications and roles, exploitations, maintained our nation's self-maintained breaching roles by what set this up to keep that blamed on others, to keep itself as sophistication beyond the integrity of the nation's agencies and branches. So when they came with shock and awe, the coalition, intellectually, they were carried, and our nation was carried by what it doesn't understand. Because they are pseudo-sophistication only in relationship to what? Poverty. It's worse than poverty. That's a breaching position forced by tactically denatured relationship to nature, forced by crazy zoning laws in conjunction with slavery's crazy. Not just slavery. They had laws against every single person. They made people blame it on other tactically. White, red. They played the game, the color game, made identities of value tactically ulterior because they knew what they were exploiting. Perpetually for the engineering of the organized crime breaching method, which in the agenda of it was fact treatment nature, which is a clear body of value, as the identity is in demonstration of this. See, this is true always. Always. With no exceptions, when you use ratiocination, correlation. Ratiocination, the different is able to see when it's right and wrong, inherently, actively, progressively, because this is when it's right, it's the cause of positive value nature progressions. I know if we all just agree to this, then we're agreeing that the value nature system is no good. It can't afford to build out of poverty. It can't afford to bring the nature relationship back that was denatured. It's divided, worse than divided. It's exploited, divided homeland, pretended free markets, positions, and means to building infrastructure, means to bricks. Value nature systems, agreeing to that, all of a sudden we change our relationship to nature. Now we have an active relationship to nature. All the water that was put underground, you bring it up. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the evolution is going to interact with. You know what I'm saying? Well, on the changing and unchanging variables. You live in Tornado Alley. You live in a fireplace. You should have the water already stacked where your house might burn. You live in a Tornado Alley. What are you doing in a colonization style homes forced by crazy, crazy laws? Why those crazy, crazy laws still call it slavery? Still with not one science telling us not to compare, to use correlation, to understand the organized crime method, to understand it was against purposely, it was aimed at correlation nature is the value of English. It is also the value of the law, which is greater than itself. It is greater than itself, the value of the law, as correlation nature. Because what is not correlated as true always is not true always. So when the law is BS and abridged, fact, achieving nature rules, we need free speech to be able to do this. But they're attached to us to fake conversations, sequence shifts. Courts, they're raised as, and what do? They pretend, they have an integrity they don't. They pretend they have rights they don't. They have rights facilitated to them only because by a breaching method. And within that is breaching natures. Pseudo-sophistication nature. Comparison nature. See, that needed everyone to play roles with that, within that as opinion nature, bottom up in states and areas in collusion with top-down nation sharing guys, worse than guys, in pseudoscience, justifications, glorifications, suit and tie, internation court, and internation police integrity that is not worse than non-existent. Internation intermilitary integrity that is worse than non-existent. The militaries and the nations reliant upon psychology's physical delusions not demonstrated. Predators with our areas, with courts, with prisons, and with them socially, you don't even realize they're with rackets, recorded, with online, with areas. It's no joke. It's no joke. So we have to demonstrate the recorded internation families juxtaposed here, especially with psychology and with the courts and with the prisons. These are native fact treatment natures. And this is cultivating pseudo-identity roles. Differential extortion, differential torture of each modern nation. Only realized as means to keep fluent justifications of what cannot justify that and stop what's fluent through our nations, because is an organized crime nature against fact treatment nature, using pseudo-identity tactically to force to a tactical ulterior than space nature's fact treatment nature. So I want to apologize, Iran, because I made a song. It was offensively aggressive towards you, but I was learning too how responses were going to be, because I saw the responses were improper for defenses of the Quran in relationship to the impositions upon the Quran, upon the Constitution, in their name, and per how interscience roles and industries tied to this, not per money. They'll blame it on things like that because they need to hide lies, delusions, premises, criminal inclination, persuasions, delusions. They need to hide that, maintain to them through areas and through the sciences criminally re-engineered for this. No, the campus marcius is only value as a correlation nature, like English, like the law. Correlation is its own value, as the value of the law and as the value of English, but beyond it, beyond our control. Like the value, the nature of positive is the engineering of it by our bodies is beyond our control. At the same time, with the engineering of what is positive or negative onto our fact treatment nature, like our metaphysical nature, our mind, it is also beyond our control, what is positive or negative. At the same time, what is positive or negative to the sequence nature, which is the rest of the body, the identity and diffusion through here, that is also beyond our control. But together they demonstrate it. Because when together they are positive unto themselves, it causes positive value nature progressions here. And together when they are negative unto themselves, cause negative value nature progression here, letha vadis. So what built the evolution of nuclear bombs and weapons and military conflicts in relationship to business as usual ulterior, you know what I'm saying? Fake alternative piece. It's not, So in other words, we have to address that. What is fluent through our nations, and that's where it's sickest. Needs to hide the lies. It can't even have this is also why they say don't share medical information. That's with a racket, because they're making up information. They're pretending fake relationships to people since they were kids, attaching them to fake conversations and databases, and with methods affecting keeping the time of every job measured as a weapon against the reaction natures only let realized to it roles. Measured, not even realizing their fact treatment nature is being cultivated as live progression cover-up tools from a base that they justify coming up. That's why we have criminal seas, this nature justified with the fake news. And then they're covering that up insidiously with investigators, with them, and with the area. Like if you try to say, they're covering live progressions tied to the database racket. Our fact treatment nature is the goal, not money. Our fact treatment nature is what left people stacking, what left tactical denatured relationship to nature, what left fake freedom, fake competition. What tells people we have experts with a suit and tie. They're like multi-front opinion natures saying, oh, well, you can come out of poverty. You can't come out of poverty without denying and looking away from what is recorded inherently, actively, and progressively upon poverty. But see, isn't when people start talking about it, they only realize sophistication. Starts using black and white, and that's if they're not, and they start using correlation, they'll be hurt. There'll be drama directed upon them and the motivations for it, which put those natures of live progression cover-up styles, only realize they're already invested, already realized with past fact treatments, already innocent people in jails, already actively involved with database illusion stacking. So if they treat things right over here, they're going to see that they were doing that over here. Sequence shifting. Then they have live progression. They have to pretend, so now they want to use sensibilities that they're incapable, that are not even true, to debate. They want to fight courts, and then they want you to shut up and not fight and just let them write whatever. This is recorded. We have predators with our courts originally progressed. black, white, every other, whatever they want to call themselves. We're forced to entertain ourselves called white or black. Not called it, formally, even on papers, because that was part of the racket. We have an immaturity that needs physical, needs maturity to be claimed. Criminal insidiousness nature needs it to be claimed. What is cold and wrong, and hiding lies, delusions, premises, criminal intimidation, persuasions, hiding sequence shift roles, hiding database crime roles. That's what they're doing with their convictions, with the time slots. Even if not just because of the time slots, because they're not letting correlation. Well, through time, the same opinion natures not demonstrating need to hide lies, delusions, premises, criminal intimidation, persuasion, sequence shifting roles, database crime roles, fact cheapening nature, torture roles, fact cheapening nature, sabotage roles. This is why we have problems. We have organized crime against each agent, fact cheapening nature, individually grouped together, sequentially, and with areas maintained. This is an organized crime method. It's very simple. The only thing that's hard is not using what is true always, putting opinions first. And where this was a racket to do that. You can't counter if you can't describe criminal insidiousness nature and acts. If you can't point out the sequence shifting roles in the personal and group crime roles with courts, recorded and confessed, and further demonstrable juxtaposed with areas, crime methods, covered in life progressions, because they were recorded and confessed, raised as victim predators in my town. And with systemic medical corruption, mental incompetence, with psychology, internation, and with courts and jails. And that's with databases, with evidence. So they have live progressions together. They have been covering them with areas, with agencies too, recorded, confessed, and further demonstrably recorded, involved with live progression cover-up nature needs. Even the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, who was a co-defendant with federal criminals from my town, recorded and confessed, involved with roles with them with the agencies. People were afraid to take down the former standing chairperson on RICO law. But he's a criminal. In other words, recorded, even if it's not proven yet, it's already recorded. So that not only is it already recorded, he's involved with other agencies and with his own, with criminal acts, with kids through time, with elderly homes with the same racket natures, with untimely deaths, all kinds of other things tied to their roles, with interstate database crimes in courts too, proven sequence shifts tied to them, and with Ninth Circuit with the Trade Center, recorded witness fabrications with that, recorded crime roles leading up to it with the DeMoro and with the Scalora family, confessed and recorded and involved with a Phil Colon and with other people tied to my neighbors, with police forms interbranch since they were kids. They don't let anybody report things because they have conversations led by people criminally involved with it. So they're using sensibilities. And they're using, in other words, they're pretending they don't understand reality because they can't, because they'll be in trouble. You see what I'm saying? So we have no place to make police reports unless things are too late. And they're recorded, facilitating and hiding child predators that were then proven, but they're further recorded and further confessed involved. And that's juxtaposed with untimely death, same groups. Campus crimes tied to confessions from professors at the colleges I went to, also criminally influenced by this, because they had interbranch corruption with Weathersfield, Connecticut, originally progressed interbranch. George Washington, the French general, they could only semi-counter extort what was entrenched here in Connecticut, Weathersfield, Connecticut, with slavery. And then even after, that was right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. Then they had to leave, even after that, they had to leave slavery in the North. And with Weathersfield, Connecticut. Because no one, everyone was tactically pseudo-educated. Fact treatment nature, justification nature, exploiting that. Incapable with worse than physical delusions in relationship to the value nature system, relationship to identity, relationship to how to counter what forced color for these long-term tricks. To have a bridge fact treatment nature, a bridge free speech, not let demonstrated. What does that doesn't let each one of the constitutional values defended. It has our nation's agencies and police recorded and confessed and completely recorded and confessed involved with Russian families here, with database crime rolls with children, with our agencies, with judges' family members, with doctors' family members. See, the doctors are very sick, recorded criminal with judges of various natures of courts at once, covering their life progressions with the jails too, using medicine as a means to torture fact treatment natures. Also as medical corruption, because with the investigators who are doctors of psychology. See, we have to demonstrate the ill sciences and ill sciences stewards and roles, exploiting that where and how there was his maintenance to means to keep formal compromised natures through what was internation, but it was his internation. So no, and it was his with legal natures only reliant upon pseudo identity, glorification of titles, forced by the sick Marcus position top down, and bottom up, tactically pseudo-educated, repressed opinion natures, and criminally re-engineered opinion natures of the branches of states and areas and of the sciences. So everyone's fact treatment nature in collusion with the justifications, the sensibilities, and the convictions needing to hide lies, delusions, criminal internation persuasions, sequence shift roles, database crime roles, with and as the value of internation sciences and agencies together. Not one modern nation agency didn't lose to this. Per recorded proofs, but we're not led to demonstrate it. They're recorded to hurt each age of fact treatment nature. They'll hurt your family with rackets like this. You record it, and they do it. Doesn't have to be violently. They do it violently, but just with word games. You know what I'm saying? That's why there's mandated law. We have men in my area recorded. When they have corrupt FBI and things like that, various forms of them, FBI agents, when their superior tells them not to tell the truth, to lie about something that is being used to hurt other people, and already have to have, with them database stacking, using this to prevent those recorded database sequence shifts and crimes from being demonstrated. Also, with these Connecticut ones like that, recorded having been used to facilitate and then attached to the proven sequence shifts from the 9/11 context, with the Ninth Circuit right next to it, and with Connecticut cases since. But see, they're hiding that because they're connected. And also, they confessed and recorded themselves with crime rolls with the Trade Center, and worse, the interstate, and with kids, with a Scalora family, also with Weathersfield Police, with intercity police. And he also pretended to have conversations with me through time. I also did so we'll deal with this. We're gonna. They also stack these names because then they pretend whatever. Then they direct people to keep putting fake conversations. They direct the news to fake both sides of stories, And then instead of fixing that, they cover it up and they're using their sensibilities. They want to fight. They're making, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to fight them. I want them to correct their story. I want to debate. You know what I'm saying? They don't even let you have a debate anyway because